Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Steven's going to be teaching you probably one of my favorite songs, How Deep Is Your Love by the Bee Gees. So this is one of my favorite songs, I think for obvious reasons or reasons why many people love this song. I think it's one of the most beautiful and well-written tunes ever. It's got an incredibly interesting harmony tied to an absolutely gorgeous melody. Now, I did get a chance to play through Steven's arrangement, and I've got to say that it's going to be best suited for that upper intermediate to budding on that advanced player level. It is a bit tricky, but he'll take you step by step, bar by bar, teaching you how to play this, and it's really worth the effort. It's an absolute gorgeous arrangement, so I got to give props to him for writing a beautiful arrangement of a beautiful tune. So let's talk a little bit about the lessons. So in this video, Steven's going to be teaching you the first half of the tune. Now if you want to learn the second half, you can do so by clicking this link or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for How Deep Is Your Love. Also on that page will be the tabs that you can print off to follow along with, as well as access the on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tabs scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Steven to teach you how to play this tune, and then I'll see you at the end of the lesson.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this lesson on the classic Bee Gees tune, How Deep Is Your Love. Now whether you're a Bee Gees fan or not, I think it's pretty hard to deny that this is just a great tune. It's just a timeless love song with great lyrics, beautiful melody, really awesome vocal harmonies. It's just got it all. But it wasn't until I came to arrange this piece for this lesson that I realised how good it is musically. It's just full of complex harmony, really interesting chord progressions and some quite kind of unexpected chord changes in there as well. And I really hope you have as much fun learning this piece as I've had arranging it for you. So let's just dive straight in and we'll start having a look at the intro to this awesome tune. So this piece is in 4/4 time, so we have our 4 quarter notes to the bar, and rhythmically it's fairly straightforward. We're just using mostly quarter notes and eighth notes in this piece, and the tempo we're aiming for is about 100 BPM, so a nice steady pace, not too fast. It's all quite doable. In terms of playing it, we're going to be using mostly a kind of finger picking style for this piece, and as usual I'll show you what I do with my fingers in terms of the right hand, but it doesn't really have to be played in the same way as me. This is just how I do it. If you have a more established kind of finger picking style that you use, as long as it works and it sounds good, then you absolutely just do that if that works better for you. So we'll break this piece down in the usual way. I'll play each new measure for you up to tempo so you can hear how it sounds, and then we'll break each one down and look in detail at what the two hands are doing to achieve that measure. And then every couple of measures we'll maybe have a go at playing them together nice and slow, and I'll zoom in for you on those sections as well so you can really study the fingerings and the movements in detail. So as always, just take this one slow. I'd always recommend to you just go in one measure at a time, really get into it, really master it, just slowly. Don't worry about the tempo as you go measure by measure, just do each one slowly. But once you can kind of get through each one at a nice steady pace, move on to the next one and just gradually build up speed as you sort of master each section of this piece. What I also think really helps is just getting really familiar with how it should sound. So I would recommend going back to the beginning of this video and just listen to that performance just as many times as you can stomach, really. Just keep going and listening to it again and again. Just get it ingrained in your brain so that you can just hear it. And as you're practicing these measures, you've got in your head how it should sound because you're so familiar with it. Whenever I learn a new piece, I find that really helps, just getting so familiar with it that I can just hear it in my sleep, and it really helps you. So I definitely recommend doing that. But then as for that, let's get into these first 5 measures which make up the intro. So measure 1 should sound like this. Okay, so the rhythm we're playing there is 1 and 2 and 4 and. So basically we're playing all eighth notes in that measure, but we're just missing out beat 3 there and just playing all the rest. In terms of the left hand, it's dead straightforward. We're just playing this F add 9 chord, which is just one note. It's just the E string at the first fret, we'll use the first finger for that. The rest of the strings stay open, and that's what we hold throughout this entire first measure. In terms of the right hand, we are going to be picking it, and what I do is go for a thumb on the G string, index on the C, middle on the E, and ring finger on the A string. And that's pretty much the pattern I'll use all the way through this. If I deviate from that, I'll show you. But generally speaking, that's how I do it. But as I said in the intro, if you have another way that works better, absolutely fine. You do whatever works best for you. So in terms of playing this, we're going to start with the open A string, pick that on beat 1. Then the next 8th note, the and after beat 1, we're going to go to the C string open, pick that with the index. And then on beat 2, go to the E string, which we're holding there with the first finger. And then on the and after beat 2, we'll play the open G string with the thumb there. Let that ring out over beat 3. And then on the and after beat 3, we're just going to descend down the strings from the A, the E, and the C for those last 3 8th notes. So I'll have to finish off that measure. So all together there, we would have nice and slow. Perfect. So then on to measure 2, we're going to move to this F major 7 chord, and then measure 2 will sound like this. And we're essentially there just playing the same rhythm as measure 1, but we're missing out that last 8th note as well. So we're playing 1 and 2 and 4. And that's measure 2. So in terms of the chord, this F major 7, from our F add 9, what I would do is just take the first finger off. These 2 fingers that are kind of looking ready to go already, they're just going to drop down onto the 5th fret on the C and the G, both at the same fret there, leaving the A and the E open. And that's our F major 7 chord. Just a lovely chord that in itself. Just love the sound of that chord. All major 7 chords actually, C major 7, G major 7, they're all just lovely chords. I love that major 7th sound. So in terms of picking this one, we're just going to work down the strings from the A string, sequentially working down to the G string, and that'll be our first 4 notes. So we'll just have, let that ring over beat 3, and then the and after beat 3, we'll go back to the open E, and then on beat 4, back to the open A. Okay, so that's measure 2. So again, the left hand just stays planted for that entire measure. Once we put that F major 7 chord on for beat 1, it just stays there. The right hand does all the work for these 2 measures. So if I played both of those together for you now, we would have, so let's have a go at playing those together, a little bit slower than that, and we'll do that now. 3 and 4 and. So on to measure 3, we're now going to move to this B flat major 7 chord. So we're going to play the index on the E string, the C string at the 2nd there, and then the G string at the 3rd with the A string open. And then measure 3 should sound like this. So again, we're playing the same rhythm as we did in measure 1, that 1 and 2 and 4 and. So all 8th notes, just missing out beat 3. And again, once we've put the chord on for beat 1, that just stays planted for all of measure 3. Again, it's all the right hand that does the work, but it's fairly straightforward. All we're going to do, start on the G string and work up the strings sequentially to the A string, and that'll take us to the and after beat 2. So we'll just have, let that ring over beat 3, and then just work up again from the G, then the C, and then the E, but this time miss out that A string because that's the last note of that measure. So just on the B flat major 7 chord, that's that measure there, really pretty. And then we move on to measure 4, where we're going to switch to a C7 chord. So all we need to do, take these 2 fingers off and just drop that first finger onto the A string there at the first. And again, that just stays planted. We do have one change actually on beat 4. We've got to take this off, but it mostly just stays on. So for measure 4, we're just going to play sequentially up the strings again from the G string to the C, to the E, to the A, work up there. So we'll have 1 and 2 and let that ring over beat 3. Then on the and after beat 3, we're going to hit the open C. But now we need to take this finger off because on the next beat, on beat 4, we're going to play the open A string. So just take that off to open up the A, pick that on beat 4, and then the and after beat 4, we'll hit that open G string. Okay, so measure 4 there again is... Okay, so let's have a go at playing measures 3 and 4 together. 3 and 4 and... So once we've played measure 4, we then go back, we repeat back to the start and start with measure 1 again, and then we'll play measure 1, 2 and 3. So the second time round we play through measures 1, 2 and 3. So we would have... Now the second time round we miss measure 4 and we jump to measure 5, which is then going to lead us into the beginning of the kind of vocal melody, into the lyrics. And what we'd have for measure 5 is... And you can hear there the beginning, I know you're... into the lyrics there, ready to start the song off and get into the verse for the B section. So if we look at... What I'll do, I'll play measures 3 and 5 together because you can hear how they kind of link together a bit better, and then we'll break down measure 5 in a bit more detail. So measure 3 into measure 5, we would have... Okay, so our first beat of measure 5, in terms of the rhythm, we're playing 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. So again, all 8th notes, but again, well, this time we're missing out the and after beat 2. We're missing that one out, the rest we're playing. So beat 1 is just a kind of slap sound or a tap sound. We're not actually playing notes there, it's kind of rhythmic, kind of just tap on there. But what we'll do, we'll hold the notes that we're going to play on the next 8th note, the and after beat 1. We're going to be playing this shape. So we'll actually hold that on beat 1, so it's ready to go. So if we look at measure 3 where we finished, we were holding this B major 7 chord at the end of measure 3. So when we hit measure 5, this new version of a C7 chord, we basically want to keep this finger on. The third finger can stay there on the G string at the third. We'll take these two off, and then the pinky can just drop onto the E string at the third with the C and the A open, and then that is our alternative version of a C7 chord. We can ignore the A string because we're not using that in this measure at all. It's just the other 3 strings. So we'll hold that ready, and then on beat 1, just kind of drop the fingers onto those strings. Just kind of tap the strings. That's not going to be hard. I'm going to make loud contact. Just drop the fingers on, just to make that kind of rhythmic tap sound. And what I would do is try and drop the fingers onto the strings that you're going to play, because shortly after, on the and after beat 1, we're actually then going to pick those strings. So if on beat 1, we kind of tap them onto the strings they're going to play, they're then ready just to go... Doesn't sound good. And just pick those on the and after beat 1. Okay, so we'll have 1 and then play that again on beat 2. Let that ring over the and after beat 2. Pick that shape again on beat 3. And then for the last 3 8 notes, the and, 4 and, we're going to play the open C. So we can probably take this shape off as we play that and open everything up. Play the open C. Then on beat 4, hit the open, the E string at the first. Put the first finger on for that. Pick that one. And then stick another E string, but now up to the 3rd fret. We'll put the 3rd finger on at the 3rd fret. Play that E string again on the and after beat 4. And that's that one there. So that measure all together, we would have... That's how that one will sound. So if I play measures 3 and 5 together, we would have... So let's have a go now at playing those 2 measures nice and slowly through together. 3 and 4 and... Okay, so just to finish off so you can hear it, the whole intro now played sort of with the repeats, what we would have is... So I recommend just working on that bit for now, just the A section, just the intro, keep having a go at that nice and slow, and then once you've got that down and sounding good, then we'll move over and have a look at the B section and start looking at the verse. So onto the B section now, or on measure 6, and we're going to be starting on an F chord here, and this is like the main verse bit now, so the first note of measure 6, if you like, is going to be eyes, of eyes in the morning sun. So the previous measure at the end of the intro, we played these 3 notes, which is the first part of the vocal line, I know you're, and then measure 6 we're into eyes in the morning sun. This is what we're playing now. So all of these notes that we're going to play in this measure are all melody notes, they're all part of the vocal melody, so we're going to sort of play them all with equal volume just so that we can hear them and we hear that kind of vocal melody coming through. So for measure 6 we're just starting on a F chord and we're going to play the rhythm 1, 2 and 3, 4 and how that'll sound is like this. Okay, so that's what we're going for. So we're starting on the F chord, so we'll hold that now with our first finger on the E string there at the first, second stringer there on the G on the second fret. So we'll just play all 4 strings there, and you could just strum those, or you could pick them. It's entirely up to you how you play that, but that's on beat 1, and then on beat 2, but we play the open A string again. We'll keep the F chord held, so it all rings out, but we play the open A string on beat 2, and then on the and after beat 2 we're going to pick this E string at the first as part of our F chord, so we'll pick that there on the and after beat 2, and then for beat 3 we're going to move to this A minor 7 shape, but it's just a kind of double stop that we're playing. It's not a full chord, but it's based around an A minor 7. So what we'll do, just keep our movements efficient as we always like to do, we'll move the first finger on the string that it's already on, so we don't need to take it off, but we'll take the pressure off and just slide it up to the 3rd fret, but at the same time think about this second finger that was holding the G string at the second. We're just going to bring that to the C string and play that at the 4th fret. So we'll make that movement there, and we play that double stop, the E and the C string at the 3rd and the 4th fret there, and we play that on beat 3. Let that ring over the and then on beat 4, what we're going to do is play another double stop. We're going to keep this finger on the C string, but we'll keep that one on behind as well, and all we're going to do is we're going to add this one on and play that at the 5th fret on the E string. So keep this shape held, this A minor 7 shape, but then add this finger on and play the double stop again. So with that C string at the 4th, we now play those 2 notes, and that's on beat 4, and then on the and after beat 4, the final note of this measure, we're just going to slide that shape back down, but then we're just going to pick the E string at the first. We're going to put this finger back on the C string at the second, but we're not going to pick this or do anything with it yet, but we're going to keep that there ready for the next measure because we will be using that shape. So the last note there of this measure, just the E string at the first, and we just pick that there. So what we'd have is... Now an optional little sort of frill there that you can do, and you might have heard me play this in the performance piece, when we go to that beat 3 to beat 4, and we play those 2 double stops. So there. Now you could slide that first finger up, like you just heard. Sounds quite nice. That's one little sort of frill you can do. Then the next bit, when we play this beat 4, this 5th on the E, 4th on the C, rather than put the finger on and play it, if we just play the previous double stop again, so we played that on beat 3, E string at the 3rd, C string at the 4th, played that on beat 3. When we play beat 4, play it again, but then very quickly straight after, hammer this 3rd finger up to the 5th fret. Okay, so we play it once on beat 3. When we get to beat 4, we play it again as it is, but then hammer on. And then go to the 1st fret to play the E string at the 1st. So I'll play that slowly. That would be... It just has a little frill, little touch quite nicely. You can do that there. If rhythmically that's challenging for you, just go with the sort of, if you can sing it, you can play it approach. Think about the melody here. Eyes in the morning sun. And if you can think about that as you're playing it, that hammer on rhythmically will be all right for you. You'll be able to put that in there. Okay, so that's measure 6. If we then move on to measure 7, we've slid this shape down because we need it now because we're playing this G minor 7 shape, and essentially speaking that would be with the first finger barring across the first 2 frets, but we don't need the A string here, so we'll just play this kind of more open version of it where we just have the C string at the second and the E string at the first. That'll do us. So on beat 1, what we're going to do here, we're going to play the rhythm 1, 2, 3 and 4 and the way this bar or measure will sound is like this, not like that. Okay, so that's what we're going for. Try that again. And this will sound better kind of with the previous measure when we play them together. It'll make more sense because they do flow very much from each other. But just to keep in mind, on beats 1 and 2, those 2 notes that we're playing are just kind of little filler notes. So we want to play those a little bit quieter because they're not part of the vocal melody that we want to be hearing. So we'll play them a little bit quieter. When we then play 3 and 4 and, those are all then melody notes. Again, we've got the I feel your touch vocal line coming back in. That's from beat 3. So 1 and 2, a little bit quieter. So beat 1, holding this kind of half G minor 7 shape. We just play the C string at the second. That's on beat 1. Then on beat 2, we play the E string, the C string, and the G string together, but just on this shape that we're holding. So we'll just pick those on beat 2. But bearing in mind that we're playing those a little bit quieter because they're just filler. And then what we want to do is on beat 3, switch to this D7 shape. So the way we'll do that is we'll use these 2 fingers for it. So again, always think about quick, short, efficient movements. This finger is just going to drop onto the G string. And then this third finger, which is kind of already there in the right place if your hand's relaxed, will just drop onto the E string at the second. That first finger behind can just come off. And then we're holding this D7 shape here. And again, we'll ignore the A string, we don't need that. We're just going to play the E string, the C string, and the G string on that D7 shape. We play those together. That's on beat 3. Then the and after beat 3, we're just going to hammer this E string at the second that we just played on beat 3. We're just going to hammer up to the 3rd fret on the E string there. We're using our pinky to do that. Okay, so we pick it on beat 3. And just hammer up there to the 3rd fret. Nice strong hammer to get that note there because that's part of our vocal melody that we want to hear. And then we will play the A string open. And then, yeah, so while we play the A string open, we will keep this shape held that we just played, like that ring. So that A string open is on beat 4, but then what we're going to do is put the A string at the 1st fret on, but we're going to be going back to the G minor 7 shape for the next measure, measure 8. So we'll put the full G minor shape on, even though we're only going to play the A string, we'll put the shape on so it's ready, and we just play that on the and after beat 4. That is the end of that measure there. So once again, we would have, and that bit there is I feel your touch. That's the vocal melody there coming in again. So if we look at those 2 measures together, we would have brill. So let's have a go at trying playing those 2 measures there together. 3 and 4 and. So on to measure 8, we're holding this G minor 7 shape that we were holding at the end of measure 7, so that's there ready to go. And the rhythm we're going to play is 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and, so all 8th notes apart from that and between beats 3 and 4, we're just going to miss that out, but the rest we're going to play. And it's mostly melody notes here. The very first note on beat 1, this is just filler, because the previous note of measure 7 was the word touch, I feel your touch, but then that kind of rings over beat 1 of measure 8. A little bit of syncopation going on there with the vocal melody, which makes it a more interesting piece and musically quite, good. Like I said in the intro, it's a really just impressive musical composition, I think. So beat 1 is just this open G string, and then the and after beat 1 we're going to play, well actually what I'll do, I'll play it for you first, and I'll play it from beat 3 of measure 7 so that you can hear kind of how it flows, because starting measure 8 here in isolation with this filler note probably doesn't make it clear kind of where we are in the piece of music. So if I go from beat 3 of measure 7 and then play through measure 8, we would have. So again, rhythmically it is a little bit tricky with that kind of syncopation idea going on, but go with it. If you can sing it, you can play it approach, and just think about that vocal line, because it's a classic tune, everyone knows it. If you're not too familiar with it, hopefully you have gone back and listened to it quite a bit to kind of get it into your head, and you should be familiar with the vocal melody here and what we're listening for. So if I play that beat 3 of measure 7 through measure 8 again, thinking about the singing, the vocal line, we would have, I feel your touch me, I feel you touch me in the pouring rain. Like, I know I'm not Barry Gibb at all, but I'm just doing that so that you can kind of hear the lines. I don't claim to be a singer. I'm sorry if it offends your ears, but there you go. It's just so you can hear it. I feel you touch me in the pouring rain. So that's what we want to hear when we're sort of playing it in our head. So if we look at this measure then in isolation, so the first note was just this filler, little quiet G string tap with the thumb. Then the and after beat 1, we're going to play the A string at the first of our G minor 7 shape. Just pick that single note. Then straight after on beat 2, we're going to play most of the chord, but not the G string, so the C, the E and the A, holding the G minor 7, play all 3 notes on that beat 2. Then on the and after beat 2, we're going to hit this G string open, but that is part of the melody now. That's the of touch me in the pouring rain. So then on beat 3, we're going to go back to our G minor 7 shape, but the melody note is the open A, so we want to open that up. So what we'll do, this little bar that we're doing here with the first finger, we'll just lift the bar up. So we're still fretting the E string at the first, but we just free up this open A. And then we play those 3 strings together, the A, the E and the C, with this kind of open version of the G minor 7. Probably isn't a G minor 7 chord now, it's something else, but I don't know what it is. But there we go, we're just going to play those 3 notes together on beat 3. And then on beat 4, we're going to add this finger on now to the G string 3rd fret and pick that note with the thumb on beat 4. And then on the and after beat 4 for the word rain, we're just going to pick the E string at the 3rd. So we'll just drop the pinky on there and play that E string at the 3rd there. So that measure again. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. So again from measure 7. That's what we want to hear. So then on to measure 9. What we're going to do now, we're going to keep that held there, those 2 notes. We were holding that full kind of shape when we put the pinky on there, but what we can do now, we can take these 2 fingers off, but we'll leave these 2 on from where they were at the end of measure 8. And then what we're going to do for measure 9, we're going to play the rhythm 1 and 2 and 4 and. So again, all 8th notes, but just missing out beat 3 this time. And the way this measure will sound is. That's the end bit. Okay, so that's what we're listening for in measure 9. And these first few bits on beats 1 and 2 and, these are kind of just little filler riff just to sort of fill in that bit, because there's a bit of sort of break in the vocal melody here. So we're just going to play this as a little melody, well, a little filler, like I say, a little sort of riff to sort of fill that space. So we'll play it a little bit quieter so that it doesn't stand out too much. But then once we've played that, the last 3 notes of this measure, we're back to melody notes and the mo for and the moment. Okay, so what we're going to do there then, so from beat 1, We're holding that shape, basically a C7 shape or a version of a C7 shape that we're holding. We're going to play those three notes together, the E string, the C string, and the G string. That's on beat 1. For the and after beat 1, we'll hit that E string at the 3rd again. We're already holding it, so we'll just pick it. And then on beat 2, we're going to drop to the 1st fret on the E string, so we'll take the pinky off, put the 1st finger on behind there. This can just stay on for now. Put the 1st finger on, and then pick that note on beat 2. And then on the and after beat 2, which one play the E string and the C string open, just a little double stop there. And then let that ring over beat 3. We'll play nothing on beat 3, but then the and after beat 3, we'll play the open A. Then on beat 4, we'll hit this G string at the 3rd fret, which we're already holding because we just left that finger on from before. So we'll pick that on beat 4. Then the and after beat 4, we're going to add the pinky on to play the A string at the 3rd fret. And that's and the mo for and the moment that you. Okay, so measure 8 and 9 together, we would have that's what we want to hear. So let's have a go at playing those two measures now together. 3 and 4 and so on to measure 10. What we'll do here, we'll look at the previous 3 notes of measure 9, because again, they kind of lead into measure 10 from the vocal sense. So what we had at the end of measure 9 was these 3 notes. And that's going to lead us then into measure 10. So we'll be holding these 2 notes here. This is where our fingers will be from the end of measure 9. So then what we're going to do on measure 10 for beat 1, and we're playing here 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're playing all 8th notes, and they're mostly all melody notes. We want to hear them coming through loud. Just beat 4's a bit quieter, but we'll look at that when we get to it. So what we're going to do for beat 1, holding these 2 notes here, what we're going to do is put on the 1st finger on the E string at the 1st fret. As we do that, this one can come off now because we've kind of finished with that from the previous measure. And what we're going to do, we're going to play that double stop, the E string at the 1st and the open C. We're back to an F chord here, but we don't need the G string, so we won't bother putting that on because it's something else to think about that we don't need. So we'll leave that off, play this double stop. We're still getting that F chord sound, but that's all we need there. So then the and after beat 1, we'll play this A string at the 3rd fret. The pinky's on there already from the previous measure, so we'll be playing that, just picking it single note on the and after beat 1. And then on beat 2, we're going to play that double stop, the A and the E string, which we're holding. And the way I do this, you can pick it. For some reason, I prefer to just do a little strum of those 2 notes. It just seems to work better, it flows better when I'm playing it. But again, right hand wise, you just do whatever you feel comfortable with. But I do a little strum there. I never hit the C string. It's fine, it's not noted in the notation there. If you've got the tab in front of you, it doesn't show the C string being played there on beat 2. But if you caught it, doesn't matter. Okay, so then that's beat 2. Then the and after beat 2, we're going to play the open A, but we're not going to pick it. We're going to play it with a pull off from this 3rd fret here. So on beat 2, we've played that double stop, and after beat 2, pull it off with a pinky, a nice downwards movement. Don't sort of pull it upwards as if you're taking the pressure off. We want to get the sound, so kind of flick the finger off the edge of the fretboard. So we're not lifting it up, but pulling it down off the string, and that'll get that sound. If we just lift it off, we don't really hear it. If we pull the finger downwards away from the fretboard, we get that sound. That's how we do the pull off there. And then what we want to do is move to this A minor 7 shape on beat 3. So this is a little bit of a tricky change for the left hand. We're going to have to move the whole hand up 2 frets to this position here, so that the 1st finger is dealing with the 3rd fret. So we're just going to, from there, move the hand up 2 frets and put on the A minor 7 shape using those fingers there, the 1st, 2nd and 3rd finger. Now that change might be something to practice. That could be something to do some finger push-ups with, if that's tricky for you, and just spend a bit of time doing that. And just practice that change. And again, think about short, efficient movements from here. Okay, these two fingers are kind of where they need to be already. They're sort of in the right place. So we just slide the fingers up. The first finger comes over to the A string. The pinky just goes away. And these two come onto these two strings here. So just think about where the fingers are going and just keep practicing that until you get that movement. Quick. Can't even do it myself. There you go. So that movement's quick and accurate, and you can get that change nice and speedy. So on beat 3, we're going to play that full A minor 7 shape. And again, I tend to do a strum of that. It just seems to work better. A downward strum for beat 3. And then keep that shape held for the and after beat 3. We're going to add the pinky on to the 5th fret there. And then what we're going to do, probably take this off now for the beat 4. Let's just have a play of it. Yeah, so as you've played the and after beat 3, once you've played that 5th fret on the A string, take the rest of the shape off, keep that on though, play the open G on beat 4, and then bring the hand back down to first position, but leaving the pinky on the A string and just bringing it down to the 3rd fret, and then we put it on there and pick that note for the and after beat 4. That's that there. What I didn't do with measure 10 was show you how it would sound all the way through, so apologies for that. I'll show you that now. What we would have is and then if I play that with those previous 3 notes of measure 9, because they lead into this measure, we would have okay, and again, think about the sing it, you can play it approach. What we get there is and the moment that you wonderful. Okay, so then on to measure 11, we're just going to continue that kind of melody line from me. I wanna, this is what we're going to be singing in our head as we play this. And the rhythm here for measure 11 is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're playing all 8th notes, but the first note is just a little filler because that last note of measure 10, fa, that's just going to ring over beat 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this D minor add 11 chord. So what we're going to do, we're going to put the first finger onto the E string at the first, second finger onto the C string at the second, and we're going to leave our pinky on there because we've just played that at the end of measure 10. We want that ringing. So we'll leave it on, and then we play on beat 1 of measure 11, that double stop, the E and the C, with those fingers we just put on. And then for the and after beat 1, we want to pull that off to sound out that open A string. So again, a nice strong pull off downwards off the fretboard, just got to flick that string to get that pull off sound. That's the and after beat 1. Then on beat 2, we're going to hit the open G, and that is a melody note, so decent volume for hitting that. And then on the and after beat 2, we'll hit the E string at the first. We're holding it here with this shape. That's on the and after beat 2. Then on beat 3, we've got a little filler note, just 1/8 note filler. This C string at the second, we're already holding it. Pick that, a little bit quieter. And then these last 3 notes now, I wanna, these are all melody notes. So we play the E string at the first, again we're just holding it. G string open for the 4th beat, then the and after beat 4, the A string open. The last 3 notes there were just I wanna. Okay, so that measure again, that's what we're hearing there. So if we look at measure 10 and 11 together, but using those 3 notes from the end of measure 9 as well, that lead into measure 10, we would have and hopefully you can hear that vocal line quite clearly coming through there. So let's have a go now at playing measures 10 and 11 together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. on to measure 12 now. We're going to go to this G minor 7 shape again that we've had before. So we'll plant that on for beat 1. And we're going to play all 8th notes again here. 1 and 2 and 3. Oh no, we're not. We're going to miss out the and between beats 3 and 4. So we're going to play 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. And these are all vocal melody notes. Everything we're going to play here is like a word from the lyrics. So how this will sound all together is... And that's feel you in my arms again. So what we're going to do, we're going to hold the G minor 7 and play those first 3 strings, the A, the E and the C. We're going to play those on beat 1. Then on the and after beat 1, we're going to keep that held. This is all now going on with this held. So we just pick the A string on the and after beat 1. Then on beat 2, we play A and E together, a little double stop. And then on the and after beat 2, hit the A string again. And then what we're going to do for beat 3 is we're going to add the 4th finger on to the A string at the 3rd, and then play those 3 notes, the C, the E, and the A string. But what we can do here, you might have heard it in the performance and how I just played it a second ago for you, is a bit like in measure, whatever it was, measure 6, with a little hammer on. So when we play beat 3, we just play the G minor 7 shape, but then quickly hammer that note on for beat, just after beat 3. So we play it on beat 3, G minor 7, and then hammer that straight on. So the whole measure together up to beat 3. Just sounds quite nice, a little frill, a little hammer on. Without it, it sounds fine. But doing the little hammer on, just adds a little bit of something to it. So do that if you like. If you're not happy with it or you don't like it or you can't do it, that's fine. It all works, but you pick which way you want to play it. And then what we're going to do, let that ring for the and after beat 3. Then on beat 4, we're going to take all that off. Yeah, take it all off, play the open A for beat 4, then the and after beat 4, using the pinky because it's still in the right vicinity there, it's still round about where it needs to be because it was playing the A string at the 3rd. So we've taken it off, but now we'll put it back onto the E string at the 3rd and just pick that on the and after beat 4. Okay, so that's measure 12. Then straight into measure 13, I'll play it for you. We would have, and then that's the next bit. And you come, it's getting a bit high now. And you come, too low, out my range now. Not that I've got a range, I can't sing. So what we're going to do from measure 13, we were holding the E string at the 3rd with the pinky. So we're going to play that note with the open C and the open G. Play those 3 notes together. And then on the and after beat 1, we're going to play the E string at the 3rd again. And then we're going to go down to the 1st fret on beat 2, pick that single note, then the and after beat 2, we're going to hit the double stop of the E open and the C open, and then let that ring out over beat 3, so we're not going to play beat 3, but then the and after beat 3, we're going to go to this shape here. So this is another little challenging bit for the left hand if this is a shape that you're not familiar with. This is basically going to be a B flat major 7 chord, but we're playing the bar chord version, because we need to for the sort of notes that we need here. So what we're going to do, we're playing the C string at the 5th, but we're going to be playing the whole B major 7 shortly after. So we are going to put the full shape on, or most of the shape, to play those notes. So we'll leave the 1st finger for now, we'll ignore that. What we're going to do for the and after beat 3, we're going to lay this 3rd finger across the C string, the E string, and the A string, and do this kind of like bendy finger hinge bar thing that we've seen in previous lessons I've done with you, so that we fret those 3 strings at the 5th fret. But bear in mind as well, in a moment, we're going to want to put this 1st finger on the G string at the 3rd. So maybe just practice, we don't need that yet, but maybe practice holding that shape. Really nice chord, all these major 7 chords, I just think are beautiful. I think they're my favourite type of chord, they just sound amazing. So it's B flat major 7, that's what we want to practice holding. So make sure you've got that right, but again, practice little and often, don't hold it down for too long because you'll get finger fatigue, just practice doing it. take it off, practice it again. Don't hold it on for too long. So those last 3 notes of measure 13 and 4 and, we're going to play that on the and, again on beat 4, and then play the A and the E string as a double stop at the 5th fret there, and that's the and after beat 4. So those last 3 notes all at the 5th fret, we would have, that's the end of that measure. So altogether, that measure 13, okay, so let's have a go. Now I'll play it for you first of all, measures 12 and 13, then we'll have a go at playing them together. So 12 and 13 together would sound like this. Okay, brill. And just remember, all that's melody apart from the beginning of measure 13. So beats 1 and 2 and of measure 13. That is a little bit like what we did in measure 9, a little kind of filler riff to sort of fill in that gap in the vocal melody. But everything else is melody, so we play it quite loud. Okay, so let's have a go at playing those 2 measures together. 3 and 4 and... So on to measure 14 now. We're starting from this B flat major 7 chord that we've just been holding at the end of measure 13. And the 3 notes we've played at the end of measure 13 are... and we're going to carry on from there into measure 14. So that last note we played, that double stop at the 5th, that just rings out over beat 1 of measure 14, but we'll play this little filler note on beat 1 as that rings. So what we'll do, we'll have this first finger on now, the G string at the 3rd fret, and we'll just tap that quite gently on beat 1, and then on the and after beat 1, and we're playing here 1 and 4 and, which sounds a little bit weird. We've got that syncopation thing going on where the sort of the notes are off the beat rather than on the beat, but it makes more sense when you play it all together. And if you think about the vocals as you're playing it, it doesn't matter that the rhythm's a bit weird. It kind of makes sense to you if you think about the song as you're playing it. So the and after beat 1, we've played that double stop again, let it ring over beat 2, then the and after beat 2, we'll play that full chord all the way down, all 4 strings, and you can strum it, you can pick it, whichever works best for you, that's fine. And then that rings out over beat 3. Then for the last 3 notes, the last 3 8th notes, and 4 and, we're going to be playing A string at the 8th, E string at the 10th, and the A string at the 10th. Okay, and that's a bit of a shift from here. So let's look at how we would do that. So we've just played this full chord on the and after beat 2, letting that ring over beat 3, but as it's ringing, we're going to think about our movement. We're going to bring this finger to the G string, the A string, sorry, from the G string, and we could, if you don't like this slide, it sounds good, have a go at it, but if it's too much for you, you don't like it, or you can't do it, that's fine. We can just play that static note at the 8th for the and after beat 3, but it sounds quite nice if we slide up to it from this shape. So we play that on the and after beat 2, then bring this first finger down to the A and probably just put it kind of on the 3rd fret, but then start sliding it up to the 8th as you pick it. Don't pick it and then slide, because we don't want a note played first. We're getting to this 8th fret on the A string. We want to hear this note, but we're going to get to it by sliding up to it. So put it on at the 3rd fret, but almost start sliding it as you pick it. Coordinate that so it's continuous slide sound. As soon as we start hearing that note, it's already sliding. We're not picking then sliding. We're picking it as we slide, simultaneous, to get that slide sound. And if you don't like it, it's fine. Just put it on at the 8th, plant it on there, and just pick that note. But try that slide. And as you do it, from here, think about this 3rd finger and keep it handy. Where it is at the minute, 2 frets away from the 1st finger, kind of keep it in that position as we move it up, because we want to use this in a moment at the 10th fret. So if we think about keeping it kind of 2 frets away from the 1st finger, it's there ready to go on the E string at the 10th. As we play that note, take the first finger off. First finger off, third finger on. When we put the pinky on the A string at the 10th, same thing, take this one off as we play that final note of this measure. So from here, that's what we want to play. Then if we carry that on into measure 15, what we're going to have now is the rhythm 1 and 2 and 4 and. So all eighth notes, but missing out that beat 3. So from here, we're then going to add these two fingers on. So beat 1 of measure 15 is going to be this double stop here, second finger, E string at the 8th, third finger, C string at the 9th. Pick that double stop, but that's a little bit quieter because we're just filling that space as the vocal melody rings over that beat. Okay, so beat 1 is a little filler double stop, a little bit quieter. And then the and after beat 1, I'm going to keep that held. I'm going to take the pinky off so we can put the first finger on the A string at the 7th and pick that note. Okay, so we're on an A minor 7 shape here, a different version of it further up the neck. So we pick that note on the and after beat 1. Then on beat 2, keeping this held, we're going to use the pinky now and put that onto the E string at the 10th fret and pick that single note. That's beat 2. And then what I would do is take these two fingers off either side. So we're just left with those two fingers and pick that double stop and then slide it down. Do a little bit of vibrato in there as well. Wrong fret. And then slide it down. Sounds quite cool. So that's the and after beat 2. And then the and after beat 3, because we let that ring or do the slide over beat 3. Then the and after beat 3, we're going to do another slide up to the 8th fret on the E string now. So this is the and after beat 3. Slide up to there. And a bit like before, similar sort of pattern, we're then going to go to the A string at the 5th with the first finger, but take this finger off. You could use the third finger for that slide, sorry, the fourth finger, or the third, it doesn't really matter. But then the beat 4, we're playing the 5th fret and the A string, and then the and after beat 4, we're going up to the 8th fret on that A string. We'll play that with the pinky. Okay, so if we look at those two measures, with the last 3 notes of measure 13 that lead into them, this is how they would sound. And hopefully you can hear really clearly there that vocal melody. And once you hear that coming through, the rhythm and that syncopation doesn't really matter because we can just hear it. We know what we're playing. Okay, so I'll play it once more. Okay, brill. So let's have a go now at playing those two measures together, and we'll play those final 3 notes of measure 13 that we'll play those first and lead into measure 14 and 15. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. On to measure 16 now. What we'll do, I'll play measure 16 and 17 for you with the last 3 notes of measure 15 that lead into 16, just so you can hear this part and how it will sound. So those last 3 notes of measure 15 through measure 16 and 17 would sound like this. So again, vocal melody there, really clear coming through. We can sing that in our head as we're hearing that, but these are the 2 measures we're going to look at now. So to start measure 16, we're going to play here 1 and 2 and 4 and. So all 8th notes missing out, beat 3, same rhythm as the previous measure, measure 15. And at the start of measure 16, we're holding this A string at the 8th. That's the last note we played of measure 15. That's going to ring out over beat 1. But we'll put a little filler double stop over beat 1 or behind it just while it rings out, a bit like before. So on beat 1, we're going to play the E string at the 6th and the C string at the 7th and play that little double stop, but a little bit quieter because it's just a little filler sound as that vocal melody rings out over the top of it. Okay, so then onto the and after beat 1, we're then going to drop this down to the 5th fret on the A strings. We'll take the pinky off and put the first finger on the 5th, but we'll keep these on as we play that. So we'll pick that single note on the and after beat 2, and then on after beat 1, sorry. Then on beat 2, we'll play the E string at the 8th, and we'll use the pinky for that, keeping all this held, and just pick that single note. So that's beat 2. And then the and after beat 2, we'll just take these two off, 3rd and the 4th finger, leaving those two on, and then we'll play that double stop on the and after beat 2. And we could slide that down afterwards, done that to get a bit of sort of dynamic sound into our playing. Then leave that over beat 3, nothing on beat 3. Then the and after beat 3, we're going to go to the A string at the 3rd and just pick that single note. And then on beat 4, we're going to have the open A string, but we're not going to pick it. We're going to achieve it with the pull off. So again, don't lift the finger off, pull it directly, flick it off the string, pull it downwards towards the floor, and that'll get you that pull off sound. Okay, and then put it back on, but make sure whatever finger you used before, for some reason I use the 3rd finger when I pick it on the and after beat 3, pull it off, but then make sure whatever finger you've used, now you use the 4th finger. Okay, you could use the 4th for both. For some reason I do 3rd, then 4th. Maybe it's just because of the transition from up here, it's easier to use the 3rd. But then it's really important on the very final note of measure 16 that it's the pinky that you use. Okay, so then what we're going to do is go straight into measure 17. The reason we're using the pinky is because we're now going to put this first finger on to the 1st fret on the C and the E, so do a little sort of half bar, bend your finger back so that we cover both those strings. Doesn't matter what this finger does to the A string because that's being fretted here at the 3rd by the pinky, so it makes no difference, but make sure that E and the C are nicely fretted there. We don't need the G as part of this bar. We're going to bring the G into play in a moment, but we'll use a different finger for it. So just these two strings together, play that double stop on beat 1, and then on the and after beat 1, keep everything else held. We're going to add this finger now onto the G string, 2nd fret, pick that with the thumb, that's the and after beat 1, then let that ring over beat 2, then the and after beat 2, we're going to play an up strum here, and that's important because we want to hear the open G string as the melody note. So we'll take that 2nd finger off that we've just put on, but keep the rest of this held, and then do an up strum from the E string, playing the E, C and the G, finishing with that open G sound. Okay, that's really important. You do an up strum there to get that open G. And you can use your thumb, you could use your finger, have a little experiment. I use my thumb, I think, when I play it, but you work out what works best for you. So that's the and after beat 2, let that ring over beat 3, and then these last 3 8th notes, and 4 and, we're just going to use this shape that we've got and play the open G, beat 4, going to go to the E string, and then the last note, and after beat 4, back to the G string. Okay, so if I play those 2 measures now with those last 3 notes of measure 15, and then play through 16 and 17 once more, we would have. Try again, shall I? Okay, so let's have a go at playing those 2 measures now with those final 3 notes of measure 15 at the beginning, and we'll have a go at doing that together now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So on to measure 18 now. We've got this kind of really iconic bit in the song where it says, "Me you need to show," where we go to that really high-pitched note that no man with a beard should be able to reach, but Barry Gibb can, he's amazing. So what we're going to do, we'll play that little bit up to that 12th fret, and what we're going to have here is 1 and 2 and 4. So again, all 8th notes, but missing out beat 3, and then that final and after beat 4, we're not playing that one. So 1 and 2 and 4. Beat 1, we're going to do an open strum. This is kind of an A minor 7 chord version of 1, just all open strings. That's on beat 1. Then the and after beat 1, we're going to go to the A string at the 3rd, and we'll use the first finger for that, and we'll just pick that single note on the and after beat 1. Beat 2, we're going to do a kind of chuck sound. So you've probably done these before, and there's probably a whole lesson on chucking that Andrew could direct you to, but what we sort of want to do is kind of strum all 4 strings, do a strum, but as we do it, use the palm of your hand to just stop those strings. So it's a strum of all the strings, but as soon as our fingers kind of make contact with the strings, the palm just rests on the strings to stop them ringing. Ignore that upstrum. Okay, so we want that kind of chuck sound there. So those first few bits, 1 and 2, we'd have 1 and 2. Okay, and then after we've played that, we're going to go to the and after beat 2 and put this G minor 7 shape on. Different version of one again. And this is basically like a G chord, but up at the 5th fret. So 5, 6, 5, G chord shape with the open G in there as well. Okay, and we'll do an upstrum on that because we've done the downstrum chuck on the open strings. Our right hand's in a natural position now to play this with a upstrum. Okay, so again, do an upstrum there. Use your thumb or your first finger, whatever you prefer. We do an upstrum on that. Let that ring over beat 3, and on the and after beat 3, we're going to go to the 8th fret and just pick that single note. So this shape can come off as you do that, and just pick it, and then move that 4th finger up to the 12th fret and pick that again on beat 4, and that's that note. Apologies. Okay, so that measure there. There it is. Okay, once again. That's a nice one to practice to get that chuck in there and get it sounding smooth and get it good. But make sure on that beat and after beat 2 that you're playing that G minor 7 with an upstrum. Okay, so that is the end of measure 18. Then the last one in the section, measure 19. Let's have a look at that one. We're now going to go to the 10th fret, and we're going to bar across that with our first finger, but just the 2 middle strings is all we need. So we're playing that double stop there. So the E string and the C string, using the first finger to just bar the 2 of them and play those on beat 1 and then on beat 2. So the rhythm here, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So all 8th notes, missing out the and between beats 1 and 2. So the 10th fret double stop on beat 1, play it again on beat 2, and then straight after on the and after beat 2, we're now just going to hit that 12th fret at the A string for these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 8th notes. How deep is your love? There it is. Okay, so those 2 measures together. Brill. So let's have a go at playing those 2 together now. 3 and 4 and.
Alright guys, so this week's ukulele lesson was a ton of fun, absolutely one of my favorite tunes, just for the sheer beauty of it. It's an incredibly well-written song, so I'm a little bit jealous of the songwriting abilities of the Bee Gees. They give me something to aspire to. Now, I do want to give you a friendly reminder that if you'd like to watch the part 2 lesson to learn the remainder of this tune, as well as access the tabs, you can print them off, keep them for your records. You can do so by clicking this link or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for How Deep Is Your Love. And also on that page too was the really cool interactive tab player. So you can hit play, you can watch that tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson and we'll see you in the part 2 one. Take care.